Resident Evil Deadly Silence for Nintendo DS has always been one of those weird little ports that not that many people talk about, but it's something that I find fascinating, and it might even be my favorite version of Resident Evil 1. Now, Derek, you've never played Deadly Silence, right?
No, never played Deadly Silence.
It came from that era of DS games where publishers thought it'd be cute to, how do you make DS out of our subtitle? So many publishers did that. This one's Deadly Silence, and it is a direct port of the PlayStation version of Resident Evil. Released after the GameCube remake, but they're taking the original PlayStation game and put it on the DS, which at the time was really cool. It was great to have that sort of era of like Mario 64 on a handheld. And now we're getting a game that was, never on Nintendo, the original Resident Evil, fully portable, and that alone is cool, but they did so much more to make this version distinct. And where do we even start? I think the biggest differences between this and PlayStation are the lack of loading times. So, because it's on a cartridge and not a CD, whenever you just move to another camera angle on PlayStation, there's always like a micro stutter. That's not here. So you just walk around the main mansion hall, there's no stutters. But the bigger thing is you go up to a door, the door animation is still there, but you can press the B button and just skip it. Just skip every single loading screen. And that saves so much time. We've done a few comparisons, just like DS versus PlayStation, and they get out of sync really fast, just because DS doesn't have all that loading. You can skip the cutscenes as well. It's kind of a speedrunner's dream just to skip all the waiting around.
I'm looking at the comparisons now, and it's so weird to see live-action footage on a DS.
It is. Do you know what's funny about this, actually, as well? The DS version is uncensored, whereas PlayStation was a little bit censored. In one of the FMVs, when you first find the zombie, the very first one, there's a point in the Japanese version where you see the head sort of roll off of the STARS member, and they cut that out of the international version. So in Europe and America, we didn't have that head rolling off. So DS brought it back. DS is less censored than PlayStation.
That's weird.
Yeah.
It's also changing times, like, 96 versus 2006 or something like that.
Exactly, yeah. 10 years off.
I've still have yet to encounter or play the original PlayStation version, or even this version, as I said, as you mentioned, of Resident Evil. My only entry point to it is the GameCube remake, but I've seen plenty of footage of it, but it's of the original and people playing it. But it's still weird to me, like, go through and like, oh, it doesn't have the giant shark. It doesn't have Lisa Trevor in it. It's like, oh, that's weird. I'm so used to those elements being there.
Yeah, I think it's actually really valuable that those who have played the remake also play the original, because they're such different games. Like, there's obviously the same beats are there, the same sort of story beats and the general layout. It's somewhat there, the skeletons there. But the puzzle design and everything else is just so different. And this version in particular does a lot to make it not feel like it's aged at all. Because many elements that came from later in the series have been put into the DS version. For instance, the quick turn from Resident Evil 3, which is also in the GameCube remake, where you just double tap B and flip around. That's in here. Also, something that the GameCube version didn't have is L brings up the knife. So the knife is no longer just, an item. It's something that's always there. That's what brought over from Resident Evil 4 and put into the original one. So it's just snappier in so many different ways. And also, when you put them side by side, I'm bringing up all these pros of the DS version. You put them side by side, and clearly it's not as good looking. Like, they had to cut things somewhere. The DS cartridge can hold up to like 100 megabytes. It's not a CD quality, storage capacity. And the things they cut were the FMVs and the pre-rendered backgrounds. So they're a little bit crunchier. But when it's on that small screen, especially the pre-rendered backgrounds, when they're shrunk down to DS size, it doesn't matter that much. There's only a couple of rooms where I really noticed that they've crunched them down, but I still think it looks great. And they actually did model things up a little bit on the DS version. So Albert Wesker's a bit more on model. He's got more of his slick back hair, like in Resident Evil Code Veronica and 5. And Jill, they've gone for her. How do I even phrase this? They've increased her sizes in areas, made her a bit more on model with later appearances. So if you're used to her from Revelations, if you're used to seeing the back of her in Revelations, they've applied that here. And they got a bit cheeky with it too, with both Chris and Jill.
No, that's one way to put it, I guess.
Yeah. Well, in their idle animations, if you just like touch them while they're idling, they react to where you've poked them, and in two different places. So Jill responds to you poking her butt, and also her chest. Mm-hmm. Chris, what do you think Chris responds to? His butt is there too. He doesn't respond quite as animatedly as Jill does. But where else do you think they applied the touch to Chris?
Pelvis.
You'd think so. It's his hair. That's
his
not
hair.
quite the same
Really?
as the chest. Yeah. So you're petting his hair.
You're petting Chris's hair. Okay, that's something. I would have honestly. I would have been got a kick out of it if Chris reacted as man gets hit by football, that sort of thing. if you touch the pelvis.
Yeah.
It is such an early 2000s thing. It's like, we'll let you touch them. It's like, what are we going to do with the DS? You can touch the characters. Sure.
Yeah. I want to hear about the first guy that discovered that as well. Like, how did somebody figure out that you can how you can touch them and make them respond?
I'd love if it was actually just completely innocent. It's just a dad playing near his kid, and the kid came over to play, and he just touched it as his idling. Yeah. It just happened to react like, wait, what?
But there are plenty of things that make this DS version fantastic, though. That's just kind of a weird little 2000s thing, but apart from the quick turn, apart from the lack of loading, apart from the knife, there's plenty of other things. It's dual screens for one, and the top screen always has your map. And it's like a Super Metroid map, where it documents like what rooms you've been in, it adds them to the map on the fly. And like the PlayStation version had a map as well, but it's so much easier just to have it right there on the screen in real time, being able to just very easily see what rooms you've been in. It's super helpful. And there's that point near the end of the game where you're going through that like electrical maze to make your way to the door. And you can just keep your eye on the top screen and just like watch that maze layout rather than even paying attention to what's going on the bottom screen. It's just lots of nice little quality of life things. But this is all stuff that applies to the main game. This is taking the classic mode and giving it all these nice little DS features, lack of loading, all those nice quality of life things. But there's also a Rebirth mode, Derek. So on top of Classic Jill, Classic Chris, you've got Rebirth Jill, Rebirth Chris. And these ones do a heck of a lot. So the first thing it does is it adds way more enemies. So it adds like crows and dogs in places they didn't used to be. In Chris's campaign specifically, there's a lot more zombies on screen. But there's also more ammo everywhere to deal with all these enemies.
Oh, okay.
So it's more actiony. But there's a lot sort of crammed in there as well. So every now and then when you enter a room, it takes you into this first-person perspective where zombies just come at you, and you have to do this like little DS mini game where you slash the screen to stop them. So you've got to like time your slashes, deal with like crows coming in, deal with dogs jumping at you. It's a little bit of a pace breaker because like it happens randomly. So like if you're trying to explore the mansion, sometimes you just go into this DS mini game. It's not the thing I love the most, but when you clear them, you also get an item afterwards. So that's a strange little thing. But then they also have DS mini games for just lots of puzzles in the game. So there's one point in the general adventure where you swap the shields, you get the clock to move in the mansion dining room. Apart from in Rebirth mode, it doesn't move. You go over to the clock, and there's now another puzzle where like it chimes 3 times, and you take the stylus and you just move the clock handles around 3 times until it gets to 3 o'clock, and then the puzzle solves. Or there's other ones where there's that part where you're meant to move the statues over those sort of like those gas releases to stop gas breaking out. Whereas in this one, it's now scales. Like you're taking like stones and putting them on scales and trying to balance them out. So they just change the puzzles up and get very DS-y with it. So it's completely optional, just in the Rebirth mode. But yeah, there's a lot they changed.
It's impressive they fit in 2 different versions of the game while also slightly increasing the graphical quality here. I've also noticed in your comparisons that they tended to brighten up the game, which is probably for the best when you're playing on handheld.
Exactly.
I'm looking at the wiki article on it, and apparently one of the puzzles, you resuscitate an injured comrade by blowing into the microphone.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I remember I booted the game up because the blood was on green by default. I was like, let's change it to red. And then the options was microphone sensitivity. I was like, what is that for? And it's for that mini game. Yeah, you blow into resuscitate them.
That is the stuff that you just expect from the DS. It's just like, what kind of wacky uses can we use for this? Is it tank controls or is it full motion?
It's tank controls, yeah, yeah. But it's something you can get very used to.
Oh,
and
yeah,
I know some people fear them. Yeah,
they're not that bad. They're really not that bad. And I'm just looking through here. Apparently, you can shake off enemies using the touch screen, so you can perform a melee attack.
That's right. And they're new. Those melee attacks are new. Like if you just keeps tapping the screen, Chris is just gonna punch a zombie and whack its head off.
He was practicing for that boulder.
Again, it's sort of like just taking their older designs and like modernizing them a bit more. Because we were past Resident Evil 4 at that point. We were going full action. So yeah, Chris can now just punch zombies' heads off if they grab him. So there's a lot of like gimmicky stuff in there, but it's all isolated to the Rebirth mode. So if you just want to play classic PlayStation, no touch puzzles, no zombie slashing mini games, you can just play it as it was, but in my opinion, way better, because it's just faster. I mean, I was looking at... Someone posted a Games Run Quick run of this game, where they finished it in half an hour. And if you compare that to the PlayStation version, where it takes like 50 minutes, like an hour, it's like you're cutting so much time just by shaving off those small moments of loading and cutscenes. Even compared to the GameCube remake, I think this one is just a hell of a lot more fun to blast through, because there's no waiting around.
GameCube remake is going for the more serious take on it. It's like it's not as cheesy. You're going for the actual fear. You have a lot of moodiness into that, and you can maintain that to some degree. That's why if you want to keep that moodiness, don't skip the door animations. But it's almost like an arcadey sense of it, based on what you're telling me about this, where it's just like, get the action in here and just punch off the heads of zombies, stab them whenever you need to save on ammo, just go all out. Like, this is for the people who really know the game and just want to go balls to the walls with it, which is valid after you play a certain game a certain amount of times, and they have enough new things here that makes it a little different for you, that you can enjoy. I also have seen that there is new costumes. I don't see the costumes, but you have new costumes for Jill, Chris, and Rebecca.
This is quite fun because every single version of Resident Evil 1 has different bonus costumes. So PlayStation, Saturn, PC, they've all got different costumes. And the DS ones are the skimpiest of them all. And when I say the skimpiest, I'm only talking about Jill. Chris's aren't skimpy. So they've given... Jill's obviously a cop, and they've gone for... I mean, you should look it up.
I'm looking it up right now to see him. Her cop looks like she's a stripper.
So no other version of Resident Evil 1 has that kind of costume. They're all pretty tame, apart from Jill's in this one.
She looks like she's role playing as a cop. It looks like the Village People, where it's just like a slight tie off in the front and the shortest shorts that you can imagine for her. It's like, oh my god, Jill, no. Meanwhile, Chris gets to be Ryu Hayabusa,
a ninja. He's like a ninja, isn't he? Yeah. There's other funny things in here too, though. They brought some of the voice actors back, like the original PS1 voice actors, like 10 years after the recordings. There's a guy who's dying from the snake bite, and he delivers his lines in the funniest way. He's just in a game full of like cheesy voice actors. He is the peak of it. They brought him back for new lines.
That's great.
Specifically to reference some of the DS specific stuff. So like there's that puzzle I was telling you about, the clock. He goes like, Jill, make the clock 10 past 15. Ugh. Just very small things like that. They're like, yeah, we've got to bring this guy back he's got to reprise his role. And he sounds just like he used to.
That's amazing.
But they've also brought like most of the main cast back for small lines. Because in this game, there's also a multiplayer mode, which isn't in any other version of Resident Evil 1. And you can play as everybody in the STARS team that's come to the mansion. So not just Chris and Jill and Rebecca and Wesker, but also all the other members that just die in like some ways within the mansion. They're all playable here in this multiplayer mode. And it's really ambitious, actually. There's both a co-op version and a versus version, but I'll talk mostly about co-op because I think that's the most interesting one. There's 3 levels. There's the mansion, there's the lab, and then there's the dorms. And it's kind of like you're making your way through more like enclosed parts of the main adventure, trying to get to a specific area. So you're still going around, finding ammo, trying to get to the end of the level, I suppose. Only you're working together. So you can't see the other character on screen. They're sort of represented by a star. And your enemies aren't really synced either. So like you still basically have your own experiences. Apart from all the health bars are shared. So your health bar is shared, and every enemy's health bar is shared.
Oh, wow.
So sometimes a zombie might just die randomly because your other person killed them. So you're working together, but in like an asymmetrical way almost. But it all culminates in like a boss battle at the end. So Super Tyrant's just marching around the foyer at the beginning of the mansion, and you're just working together, unloading all the ammo that you found throughout that mini campaign, trying to defeat them. And then there's the versus version, which is the opposite. Like you're not sharing, you're sort of competing to see who can kill the most zombies, who can make it through the fastest. So there's actually a lot of really good stuff. Like Resident Evil has tried multiplayer a lot, and it rarely succeeds. And I think this is just like a really good take on it.
The funny thing is that they got ambitious with a lot of early Resident Evil, like sounds like with this, with like Outbreak and all that. And then they sort of abandoned that for these these more recent multiplayer fads. It's like, let's make it a shooter. Let's do it asynchronous, where one person controls the things and the other people have to deal with that. I think a new Outbreak would be perfect in this day and age. Like,
it would.
That'd be great to go through and be just like, yeah, we're all playing as different survivors. It's a Resident Evil take while keeping the old gameplay of Left 4 Dead and whatnot. That'd be cool.
Yeah. And this is all local as well. Like Outbreak was crazy ambitious, really good as well. But all that multiplayer has to exist on fan servers now because it was all online. Whereas this, it's going to live forever as long as you can get 2 people, well, up to 4 people actually, with their own copies of Deadly Silence. They can all play together, which is rad. But there are so many reasons why I think this game is great. There's, just to like read off all the quality of life stuff. No loading, quick turn, the knife, the map on the top screen, portability, the rebirth mode, the touch puzzles, the multiplayer. Like it's almost overwhelmingly better than any other version, I feel.
If you're looking for, it sounds like if you want to go for an arcadey experience, this is the way to go. I'm so attached to the original game with the GameCube remake, though, so it's hard for me to say that. This sounds way better than what the remake does. But no, just thinking about what you can do in here, it is fun. It is definitely it feels like this is how you'd want to play on a handheld. Just let's break the game a little bit. Let's be different.
I think it's best to see Resident Evil Remake as just a different game and not a version of Resident Evil 1.
True.
For all purposes, they are completely different. They both just sort of take place in the Spencer Mansion. So I think isolate them and just like compare this to PlayStation, compare it to Saturn, compare it to PC, and
if you do that, then this is definitely the best version.
Yeah,
just for pure options and all that.
And it's
without a doubt.
It's also the last time we really got Resident Evil 1 properly re-released. So we've had like the old PC version on GOG and the PlayStation versions on PS5 if you subscribe to PlayStation Plus Premium. But just in terms of a nice, accessible new version of Resident Evil 1, like this is the most recent version.
It's weird to think about that. It's like I'm still waiting for Capcom to re-release these old games, and it'd be kind of fun if they decided to throw in as an extra the Deadly Silence version to make it more of a complete bundle type thing, sort of like how Castlevania will toss in, here's our 3 main games, but here, have a bonus game.
I mean, my dream is just a nice legacy trilogy or saga if they want to do Code Veronica as well. But with all the quality of life stuff that Deadly Silence had. Like, just retroactively put that stuff into 2 and 3 as well. I mean, that would be rad. But yeah, I think this is kind of just one of those forgotten DS games that people probably didn't play much. Because I don't think people really went to DS for horror games, but
there's a little note here that it's the first of only 11 games on the DS that got the mature rating.
Whoa. Yeah, I mean, it was so uncommon. Not many DS games, even like Chinatown Wars, GTA didn't sell very well on DS. But I think as time goes on, it's just fascinating. And I think time has been very kind to this one, where if you just want a way to play Resident Evil 1, maybe you've only played the remake and you've skipped the original, I think this is a good way to do it.
I'd be down for a re-release. Again, I want the classic Resident Evils back in some form on console. I know they're on PC, but I want them on console as well, just so as many people as possible can check out these classic ones, because I think there's value in these old games, especially because of how different all the remakes have been. So to get the chance to see the differences is really fascinating, and to have these extra quality of life features would help people get into it more. Add in some like the option to not have tank controls in it as well. Bam, they'll make it even more accessible, and well, there's other stuff. I think there is an inherent value in that, and I'd love to see it come back. And goes to show that I think there's another feather in the cap that, for DS, of all things, third party is where you kind of find some of the most interesting games.
It's the best stuff. Yeah, like Nintendo first party was good on DS. There's some fantastic ones, but in terms of like just the variety and the hidden stuff, it's almost endless.
Yeah, I would not have considered this one, to be honest. I would just, it's like, oh, okay, it's Resident Evil 1 on DS. Okay, sure. I would just pass it over.
One more thing before we end off. In the Rebirth mode, obviously I said they add more enemies and sort of mix them up. There was one place that I found odd. They just put like a shark out of water flapping around at one point. It's in like in a sewer area. They added like more zombies, more dogs, but then also just this helpless shark. Just kind of feel bad for it. That is Resident Evil Deadly Silence, though. Check it out before the prices surge. They probably have already. I've not checked in years. But I find this one fascinating, and I hope more people give it a go. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, everybody, and thank you to live audience as well, who've been watching this live as it's been recorded, and you can join them for just $5 a month over on our Patreon. But until then, we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye, everybody!